welcome everybody. I want to say thank you for coming out tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Eileen Nash. I'm the Deputy Superintendent of Individualized Learning, Visual and Special Education. I want to thank SpedPac tonight. Carolyn Kane, John St. Amand, we have Diane in the back, Jack in the back. These are people that come out and volunteer their time to really plan out throughout the course of the year topics for you so that you can become more knowledgeable about how to best help your child, my student. Also, you have to remember that they're there to help you when the system might not work as well as you'd like it. They will guide you. What they do with us is we partner. We want the best for your children. They want the best and you want the best. So we all work together. So please always flag on their website, and John will get into it. If you have any concerns, my staff is here tonight to answer any concerns that you might even just have now so that we can address them. So I want to just say thank you. Tonight we're really pleased because the topic is going to be assistive technology. So what we did is we asked our Director of Related Services along with our Assistive Technology Supervisor, Vicki Haddix and Thelma Pierce, to come up and do a presentation to you so you'll have a better understanding on how assistive technology is used in the classrooms and what might be individually needed for your child to help them learn. So thank you very much. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Again, my name is John St. Amand. I'm the Vice Chair of BostonSpedPac. I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. If you miss anything tonight or any other time, we videotape this, so it's available on our YouTube channel. So you go home and talk to the parents and they want to see it, it's available there as well. Our website is BostonSpedPac.org, and then there's a link in there to go out as well. If you get our flyers, all of our links to any of our resources are there. It'll be Facebook, YouTube, even Twitter, I suppose. But I think we got a nice night. I don't think it's going to be an overly long meeting, which is good. Everybody can get home. And at this point, I think we're going to kick it off with BPS starting the meeting. Who wants to? Are you need the screen? Or?
Oh, no. I'm brief.
Please try to stay like in this window space here so we can keep it on the camera as well. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Thelma Pierce, and I'm the Assistant Director for Related Services. Related Services is speech, OT, I have to count on my fingers, speech, OT, occupational therapy, physical therapy, assistive technology, vision, adaptive phys ed. If you have any concerns or anything like that, please feel free to contact me or contact the people in your building, and they can certainly contact me. What I've asked Vicki Haddix to do is to give you some updates on assistive technology, and if in the future you want a more in-depth presentation, we will be certainly happy to do that. So without further ado, Vicki Haddix, please. Thank you.
Like as Thelma said, we didn't know that we had much time, so I just kind of wanted to give you a bit of an update. I have presented to SpedPac before on more specifics about how we do evaluations and what goes into an IEP and all of that stuff, but since I was told I had 10 minutes today, there wasn't enough time to go into that. So I'm just going to give you an update about some of the things that we've been doing since then.
If there's more information available, will there be a site or a handout? So for those of us who have additional questions, you'll be able to review.
I don't have anything like that. I mean, you can always email our office for more information.
We can work together too. And we have one that's under family services. Great boss, not here tonight, so you can add on if you'd like to talk about assessments or whatever. So feel free.
We can put together your PowerPoint and make it available.
Yeah, and I did the PowerPoint from 2 years ago that did go into much more details about the evaluation and all of that, which if it's not still on the website, then we can certainly make that available as well.
Right. Well, I'll create a page and we'll have it just for assistive technology. We'll work out with what you have for materials tonight, whatever, and then we'll also work with past materials and we'll try to fill it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So first, just quick kind of explanations of terminology so that we're all on the same page. AT is sort of what we call assistive technology. It can be really almost any kind of tool. We could consider assistive technology to be picture symbols on a piece of paper. It could be a notebook that's raised a little bit to make it easier for a student to write. Sometimes writing on a slant is much easier than writing on a flat surface. That's all assistive technology, as is iPads and other communication devices and laptops and Chromebooks. And so it's really, the legal definition of assistive technology is very wide. Within that, AAC, or augmentative and alternative communication, is very specifically about communication. So kids who struggle to express themselves with verbal speech is something that we do for AAC. And then Universal Design for Learning is an initiative that the district has taken up recently, and we're looking to provide choices for our students. Some of them do much better typing than handwriting. So let's provide this as a choice for everybody, not just the kids who need that. So that's the idea behind Universal Design for Learning. The more choices we provide, the less assistive technology needs to be in place, because everyone has access to that. That's our goal. We are by no means there across the district yet, but I think there are some classrooms that are doing Universal Design for Learning really wonderfully. So in terms of our staff, Thelma Pierce, who introduced me, is our supervisor. I do a lot of the coordination piece at this point. I also do some evaluations and consultations across both the AAC and the assistive technology piece. Susan Dubusky has been with BPS for many years, and she does quite a few evaluations, and she focuses more on the high incidence or learning disabilities and OT related things, so she's more on the AT side. Mary Marcella is a speech language pathologist like myself, and she does a lot of the AAC, or the augmentative communication evaluations. Jonathan Fine supports us with consultations and various other things across the district. And then we have Terry Majori, who is a vision specialist. TVI stands for Teacher of the Visually Impaired. I never remember what Certified Orientation Mobility Specialist is, I think, what the other one stands for.
Sounds good.
Close to that. No vision people in the rooms that I'm attending. So yes, so she comes in when that is a particular concern. So far this year, we have done 71 evaluations that we may not have finished yet, because it's not the end of the year, but there are 71 that either have been done or in process. This is trending downwards from past years because we have really increased our level of consultation services. The teachers and the other related service providers, our other OTs and speech therapists, can ask for consults when they feel like something is beyond their area of expertise. Oftentimes we can handle stuff within a consult without having to go through an entire evaluation process. This saves us time, this saves you time, and the student gets what they need in a more timely manner. So if we can fix this in a shorter amount of time, it's better for everyone. So we have done many more consults this year than we have in the past. We are at about 255 the last time I looked at the numbers last week, and it's only April. We've got 2 more months of school left. Those numbers will go quite a bit higher. And just for comparison, 2 years ago we did 94 evaluations and only 164 for the entire year. So we've gotten much better about doing the consultations and addressing the problems early before we get to a crisis. Just not to say that things are perfect, but I think we're getting better than we were. We're also this year we're doing a pilot project across 7 schools. Our current subscription that we have for text-to-speech and writing tools isn't quite meeting our needs the way we'd like it to. It's not quite as effective as we'd like it to be. So we are piloting 2 different programs across 7 schools. We're going to look at all of the data that we're collecting in May, and we'll make a decision from there. We're getting teacher input. We're surveying the students as well, because if the students don't like the program either, then that's not going to be very helpful. So we are really gathering the data and trying to make a very good decision, considering our needs as a district and not just the latest trends that are out there. In terms of professional development, we've been doing a ton of professional development. Often our consults that we do, that 255 that we've done so far, that often involves a training component in an individual or a small group setting. We've also done 6 group trainings so far within our own related services department, and we've done a lot of other additional training that's open to the entire district. So we've had specific trainings for teachers who are in the early childhood, and I also teach 20 hours of the severe disabilities class. So teachers who are looking to get their license in severe disabilities also hear from me about assistive technology and AAC. And our big event for professional development is our Technology Expo for Diverse Learners for all staff. We've so far got 28 vendors representing a huge range of areas. And we also will have 4 tables that are staffed by our own people. It's being held at the Boston Teachers Union, and there's a scavenger hunt that encourages people to actually talk to the people that are staffing the table and not just sit in the middle. And we also this year are going to have 20 breakout sessions where the vendors will address a very specific use of their technology within therapy or within the classroom. So we're pretty excited about that. This is the 2nd year we're doing it, and it's gotten bigger, and it was a great event last year, and hoping to continue.
Is there a SpedPac table at that vendor fair?
We have one. We have one.
We don't even rent them out.
No,
Whoa. No RFP process? Wow, this is excellent.
no, but it's the goal of the expo is entirely around raising awareness. We do not charge vendors to be there at all.
Very good. Well applauded.
So the other thing that we've been really focusing on over the past couple of years is building capacity. So finding out and training our own staff to be more responsive to assistive technology and augmentative communication needs in their building. So we started the first cohort for advanced augmentative communication class for our speech language pathologists. They started meeting monthly last year. They're still meeting monthly this year, but we've switched the focus from looking at evidence-based practice and doing case studies into doing projects. So one of the things we looked at that we've been continuing to look at, kind of a year-long project, is how we deal with our students who don't express themselves verbally, but also their families speak their language other than English. This is kind of a challenge because we're teaching them in the language that we speak, but also being able to communicate at home is really important. So how we handle these cases is a challenge, and there's not a lot of research out there that gives us suggestions about how to handle this. So we're really examining those kinds of issues closely. And then the second cohort started this year, so there's another 11 SLPs who are involved in that. We also this year started 2 monthly classes that are more focused on the assistive technology side of things, so the more the text-to-speech and the writing supports and the reading and writing kind of things. And that's involving OTs and SLPs, and there's one brave teacher who decided to come on in and join us as well. So that's the...
Before you continue, and I'm not sure, I haven't been to one of these meetings in a long time, and one of the things that I learned is using SLP and OT. Maybe folks don't necessarily know who you're talking about, if their child may not be getting that service.
So once again, SLP is speech language pathologist, so that's the speech therapists that are focused on the augmentative alternative communication. Occupational therapist is the OT. They work on a lot of fine motor skills, as well as a whole lot of other stuff, but fine motor skills and writing and that kind of thing. What am I missing? Like the AP, adaptive physical education. So those are the those students who aren't able to benefit from your typical gym class. The adaptive physical education teachers will exactly what the name implies, adapt the physical education so that the students can participate. PT for physical therapy. I think I defined the other vision ones. Am I missing any?
Did you mention orientation and mobility?
In passing, but O&M is orientation and mobility, which is
Teaching the students how to
navigate around their environment. So the students who are visually impaired, we should say, teaching them how to navigate around their environment.
Did you talk about physical therapy?
I think I mentioned PT for physical therapy.
So
The only
physical
one I can think of
therapy.
is ADA, which is, unique
Right.
to itself.
Yeah. I don't know that the ABA, spelling that out doesn't usually mean
Behavior. In the back, yes, okay. Okay, all right.
So maybe you could like recap the highlight points of
And
what
then,
parents
yeah.
need to know as far as if a team or the service providers that service your kids, if they feel that there is a need to go deeper in assistive technology, they will pursue that at the school.
Well, by Mass Health, and that we had, bugs here and bugs deal with it, that we now switched to the iPad, which is a fraction of the cost of the $8,000 device, and it works much better and is more efficient. So there's constantly things coming out, but assistive technology is really anything that can improve or enhance your child's performance in the classroom. So think of it in terms of other supports that my child needs. It could be a computer software program that they use at school that helps them to do reading or writing. It could be something as simple as having, tools that are assistive, like they're sort of low tech, whether it's a pencil grip or whether it's, a slant board for them to be able to read off of. All of those types of things. So if that's something that you're looking at and that you think your child needs or that their teacher thinks that they need, then that's when you would request an assistive technology evaluation. And it would be determined based on your child's individual needs, what kind of devices or assistive technology would benefit them or enhance their performance. But it ranges across, and some people think that communication devices are assistive technology, which you could argue that they are, but they're actually called augmentative communication devices. And there's a lot of them out in the field, and I think parents should know that Mass Health is very good about funding those.
So I just have two quick comments to add to that is Mass Health
I'm
is.
sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah, I missed, I'm translating, so it's simultaneously. She mentioned something about Mass Health, more money, and something that is yours even if you move. What did you say is yours?
If Mass Health pays for your child's augmentative communication device, then the parent owns that device. It belongs to the child. It's not the property of the school department.
And so the Mass Health also requires us to get data from the home about when this has been a change in the insurance process over the last year and a half or so. They now require us to collect some data from home. So when we decide to go through this process, or if you go through this process through Children's Hospital or Franciscans or any number of other places that do these kinds of evaluations, they do ask you to try this out at home. And collect some data, and they will not fund it unless they know that it's working at home as well. It's not purely a school kind of device. So that's and one other really good point, and then we can open it up to questions, is we've been working really hard over the last 2 years, 3 years, to make sure that more of this knowledge is at the school level, that you don't necessarily have to always request another level of evaluation. That we've worked really hard to make sure that the other that the staff at the school is much more up to speed with assistive technology than they have been in the past. So it's oftentimes, if you have some concerns, please do bring it up at the IEP meeting. You might be surprised about how much your school-based team really does know about this stuff. They can ask for consults if it's beyond their knowledge level, but I really encourage you to have this discussion with the team, that you have this concern about your child. Would technology be an appropriate way to access the curriculum, and really have that discussion, because you might be surprised about how much people really do know at the school level.
So my question is, again, like you said, we will address this problem at the IEP meeting.
You don't necessarily have to wait for your
You have to
IEP
wait,
meeting either.
okay, so,
You can bring it up whenever you like.
so who would we address, who would we go to,
Your
try to help
child's-
our child to get this?
I would talk to the teacher first, so that the teacher can can really inform you what you're thinking about, why you need it, whether or not the teacher feels that it might be appropriate. And then you could ask the teacher to talk to what we call as the coordinator in the building, the team chairperson. Or you can talk to the teacher and then go to the coordinator. You could talk to the principal. Any of the people that you feel comfortable with is the important person, as long as you convey why you think it's important.
Everything should be put in writing. So if you're making requests, that's always nice. And I've learned that if you're speaking with the teacher, then you might also want to speak with whoever the special ed person is on board, so that they're getting that information with that request. Your doctor may have mentioned to you that I think this child may benefit from something, and unfortunately, this has the right, can't do the evaluations. We have to request it as parents.
Yeah, because I had a talk with my son's teacher, and I told her my concerns about his speech, and I told her that I think he can be doing a lot better. She never, told me about this program, brought this to my attention and stuff. So a lot of times I think that there's a lot of information out there that the teachers should be telling the parents about if they think that their kid need help at getting something. Because like the parents said back there, a lot of times, we don't attend all the meetings, and sometimes we don't have all the information. But if they have this information, they should be telling the parents so they can get their kids the help that they need. This is my first time learning about this. My son's in the 8th grade. He's about to graduate. He could have been at
What school is it?
He goes to the Lily Frederick Pilot School. Now, they could have addressed this issue way back then. Now he's about to go to another school at a higher level. So he could have been getting help that he need. But I addressed it, but it seems to me that she's just brushing it off and she's just pushing him along. But I told him, if there's a goal set at his IEP meeting, then he should be meeting that goal. Not to say that he should be meeting somebody else's goal or a regular person's goal, but he still should be meeting his goal because he was evaluated for a certain goal. But I don't feel that he does that.
So maybe what might make sense, not to take away from the group time, so we have one of my program directors here, that if you want to talk to her privately, she can take the name and help you then communicate better with the school about that, okay? So if you don't mind, Mrs. Phyllis McLean, and she'll be happy to help you.
I just have one question in regards to Mass Health, DDS, and DMR, and supports regarding getting the equipment. What happens a lot of the times is, okay, a child may get something, but then they can't take it home. So, and then you're saying, okay, if Mass Health needs to know that the child needs it, can there be a happy medium where the school works with the families and Mass Health all get together, know what this child needs? Because I have a big issue with my son using his device at school, and they're not gonna come, Mass Health is not gonna cover an iPad for me at my house, which my son needs to do his homework for speech to text. So if he can't do his homework, he can't pass his classes. So, how does that come into play? And this is my biggest struggle with assistive tech, and I know parents who do have communication devices. The school, the child is home, just sitting in a room, and the child's not able to speak to anyone else, because that's his way of communication. He's brilliant, he's smart, he has a way of communicating when he's in school, but not at home. So the supports around, I think that if we can build in those supports and we work together, so all our kids are serviced appropriately, it will work. But we gotta help each other. This is just too long and too much, and we're depending more and more on these devices to have successful students.
Yeah, so I think that what you're talking about is that consistency, right? There's not consistency across the district. It's something that we're always striving to establish. And that, you know, whether it's a teacher that doesn't know the information that we're trying to share here, this is one of the purposes of SpedPac, is to help parents become more involved about things they may not know. I mean, I know that the amount I didn't know was much more than I did know when I started this journey, and it's been a constant learning process for me too, and I'm an attorney, so, you know, if I'm learning, I can't imagine with people that didn't have that skill set to begin with, how much more challenging it is to understand regulations and laws and procedures. So that's sort of what we're trying to do, is help inform people, not just about sort of the technical knowledge, but also the practical knowledge of what I know as a mom and what I've gone through and what I've figured out. And, you know, the thing that we're trying to do is connect you with resources not only internally, but externally as well. And I think that if it comes down to an issue of a child needing to use a piece of assistive technology to do their homework and they're not able to do it, then that's a team discussion. And the team can certainly authorize a piece of equipment to go home if it's necessary for the child to make effective progress. And obviously doing your homework is part of effective progress. And then you basically just have to sign something with the district saying that you accept responsibility for the iPad or whatever it is while it's in your custody and control, because it is their property. But I would still work to get the same piece of equipment through one of the public funding mechanisms, because, you know, your child changes grades, they change schools over time, and that piece of equipment is going to stay at that school. It's not going to follow your child to the next school too. So the bigger picture is to try to get your own device, but in the meantime, I think that they're willing to work with you. And even when Vicki's talking about collecting data, and you have to collect data at home, plenty of these places that have augmentative communication devices, if it's being recommended for your child, will often have a trial period, or if it's being trialed with your child, a lot of the schools have iPads that they can let you borrow to justify the need for it. And then once you have the data, I mean, I know, believe me, I know as having a child that's impaired, the amount of paperwork that goes along with our kids. But a lot of what you have to do is get a letter of medical necessity, you know, basically from your pediatrician saying that this is what this child needs to be able to function. And then now Mass Health is obviously requiring data to show that not only does the child have access to it, but they're actually using it, and that they're using it in a way that's benefiting them. Which you can't really blame them for putting out that kind of money, you know, especially when for the $8,000 devices. But hopefully we're moving away from that, and I'm hoping that Mass Health will recognize the cost efficiency of the iPad versus some of those larger devices.
I have one more question in regards to training, but not only training the child, but training the parents. So I understand that. I mean, I personally request that if my child, I mean, I'm not technically sound, I have some of that I can do what I can do, but if my child is learning, and this is where I'm at with the school right now, he's learning different apps, he's learning different things on the iPads, I can't help him. You give him something in school, there's no transition to work with him so that he can get it in the system and continue to do it. So I'm always asking, how am I going to get trained? And I met with Jonathan because I wanted to learn to help my son. And I'm like, but it wasn't enough time. You know, so now we're trying different things.
To meet him again
I-
the week after vacation.
Right, so, but this is a long request. I know, and it's unfortunate, I have to put it in writing, I have to go to the team meeting, it has to be a contract between the school, and then you have to be persistent as a parent, and it's a shame that folks probably know me, have seen me, have talked to me, because I've been making a lot of noise for a long time. I just haven't really stepped into the special ed meetings, but I just think this is really important to us, to our children, because this is all our children, not just our children that need special services, but typically developing children are using these devices.
Right.
So,
And parent training is certainly something in special education that can go in the IEP. Again, it's up to your child's individual team based on what it is that they're using and the need for it. You know, I've certainly had training on my daughter's communication devices and, you know, sat down with their teacher who's using it with her during the day, because it's not formal training, but if she knows how to use it, she can show me how to use it, you know, so it's that type of thing. And it's always a working relationship, trying to be reasonable, trying to see what works at what time, but, you know, it's certainly something that's available under the special ed laws, is parent training.
You can even sit in on, you know, a session, you know, so, I mean,
yeah, well,
it's
like,
certainly offered to you.
when you started talking, Vicki, about the expo, you said it's open to teachers, and I'm always, parents are involved. So I think everything that everyone is doing, you need to invite us. We need to be be available. And, how can we help our kids, you guys? Then you have more hands.
So that's a good suggestion moving forward. I think what we can do is work with SpedPac to maybe have an assistive technology demonstration type of night. So I welcome that suggestion. I think the difference is when we want to have our teachers have the resource, it's a different lens. So it's a different way that the vendors are going to be speaking to the teachers versus a parent. So what we want to do is separate out so that the parents get the most out of the session, and then a teacher will get the most out of the session, because we have limited time with the resource vendors, and so we have to be purposeful. And so I think you're right, but I think we have to do two separate venues on it.
I agree, because we come with different knowledge bases to begin with, and you want it to be the most efficient for the audience. So I think that we can take a look at doing that for parents specifically, and having specific devices available, and having, some type of tutorials, so that we can get a better understanding of it and try to do it to reach more parents. So I think that's a good suggestion.
And Easter Seals does a ton of those
Easter
demonstrations.
Seals does it for free in town, yeah.
That's a quick question, please. I was glad to see on your the list of the technology fairs you're having, 24, 28 different vendors come in. That's fantastic. But in the age of the iPad, it's not the device that matters 9 times out of 10, it's the software. And so for beyond things like text-to-speech, for things like assistive writing, graphic organizers, idea generators,
So
how do you work with
among
the schools to find some flexibility around the
among the people who are attending are CAST, who came up with the Universal Design for Learning. There's a lot of software companies. In fact, there's probably more software than actual device. There are only 3 companies that do the AAC kind of devices coming. Almost everything else is around software for either the iPad or the Chromebook. Because we have so many Chromebooks in the district, that's kind of what we're really looking for. So the list of vendors is really very heavily weighted towards that, but there's also, because we're looking to engage our physical therapists and the adaptive physical ed as well. There's some people who have who do adaptive sailing out at Pierce Park, that's it. And so they're coming as well to sort of they have grants that they take Boston Public School kids out on sailing trips. Despite any kind of disability, those kids are out sailing. I have seen pictures, and it's fantastic.
They have a summer program too.
Yeah, and they have a summer program as well. So they're coming to sort of let more teachers know that these programs exist. So yeah, there's a lot. It's more software than it is.
Yeah, but let me ask you specifically, do you have approved lists of software? Or if we go to the teacher to address an accommodation in an IEP, and the teacher and we and the rest of the team agree that, yes, this software made by company X would be perfect, are we free to put it on an iPad, bring it into the classroom and use it?
So you're actually entitled to, software that meets the need, that does basically the functional issue
Right.
that you're talking about. You're not entitled to any type of specific product. It's because the district itself is, they have license agreements, and then they also have issues with bidding and stuff like that. Let me finish, Jack.
Sorry, go ahead.
And the issue is really, no parent has the right to demand a specific service provider or a specific purpose, product. What they have to do is meet the need and show that the need can be met with the product. And then it's the issue to figure out, that's something beyond me, but I'm just saying that you can't demand a specific product. What you can demand is a product that meets the need and the functional capability that's trying to be achieved.
Does that apply if we pay for the software and the device, which would be the normal situation?
If you pay for it,
Yeah.
I thought your question was, can you have it?
No, well, yes, but if we pay for it, can we have it in the classroom? Can we,
So,
the city use it, or is there?
there's,
I don't think you can put it on their network.
no, you can't.
Okay, then that's that's for discussion. Thank
So,
you.
yeah, so real quick, for those of you who just have iPads, so think of like Dragon Pro, right? You can't say to Boston Public Schools, I want Dragon Pro. But if the team decides you need voice to text, then we have to provide a voice to text software device for that. That's what we're talking about. What the gentleman Jack said was, as a parent, I want what's good for my child. So can I go out and buy something very that I think is really great, put it on my iPad, send it into school for Boston? And the answer is no, because of licensing issues, and also then it gets into a disagreement at times of the teacher and BPS is saying that that might not be all good intentions, exactly what will meet your child's needs. So we would not do that.
And it's a follow-on issue too of whether or not the product that you chose is something that the professional staff have training on, and if they don't, who's going to provide that? And it's just sort of the next issue in maintenance and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So the answer's no.
I would add to that.
Yes.
I would add to it as well, though, I've already had discussions with the district as well, like in the IT professionals. There's a phrase called bring your own device. It's a work-related item. Those are being considered, but again, you have to worry about networking, security, and all that issues there. So it's a work in progress. We'll also be working with Superintendent Chang and new administration as well to work on leveraging enterprise licenses so that software is more readily available, or options for software are available.
And so that there's consistency too, so that if your child's using something, you know, through grades 1 through 5, or even middle school, well, you want them to have access to that same equipment that they've been learning on all those years once they get to high school. So we need to build in consistency across the district so that, you know, whatever product they're using, that child's not denied access to that as they move forward in grades.
And I would add to the fact that we have to be thinking now that technology is melding closer to each other, not separate from each other, in regards to being flexible about what devices or options you can use. So right now, many things are available on multiple platforms, which then gives you more flexibility of owning your own device versus being pigeonholed with only one possible thing. So if you think flexible about the software options and that, and you can do that, you can have the, I would say, cake and eat it too, meaning it works at home, it works at the school, it's here at SpedPac is to obviously educate the parent. And our goal going forward is to try to work with the district on having them videotape more things so that there's a library that they can even show you. If you couldn't come to the meeting, here's a tutorial on how to use speech to text or text to speech, whatever it might be. Here you go.
And then with that type of tutorial, you can slow it down, you can rewatch certain parts. I don't know about you, but I'm like a visual learner, and I'm not going to get it the first time I see it. I need to, like, you know, I'm rewinding the tape to say, okay, I missed that, and then I see that again. So that's the benefit of doing the taping of it, and that's something that we've done here, and we're trying to encourage the district to do more of.
So we'll keep on that, and obviously we understand it's a huge topic, but it has great potential and upside for all the kids because of the power, you know, to give them better tools, and that's what we're looking to do. So we're going to keep working on that. Okay. I noticed.
Oh, hold on a second.
Go ahead.
I have a question. I thought I was learning disability such as reading. It's been going on for years, and I had went to get an iPad, told to help her to read, which they did not even have the equipment for her to learn how to read. But I went on the internet. I went to Mass General for a reading thing, which they said they were going to do that, but it never happened.
What, Mass General or?
Mass General and the school, it wasn't equipped for.
So maybe we can talk about your specific case, if you want to meet with Ms. McLean. And we'll find out what the disconnect was with Mass General versus the school.
And certainly, all schools should have some cadre of iPads currently, you know, I mean, or a lot of them have Chromebooks, which I understand are even better, but
Well, each
Every
child
school's
is
different.
Well, each child is different.
Yeah.
And some devices may not be appropriate.
yeah.
And may not hold the program for the kids.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Okay, so Ms. McLean's gonna go in the back if you wanted to meet with her.
Very good. So I noticed when I mentioned our website, BostonSpedPac.org, several people were writing it down. A couple of things. One is obviously we're trying to use technology to access or get in touch with more parents and give them better options. So on our website, we also have, most of the pages are translatable into a language that you may be more comfortable with. So if anybody needs our addresses to what we do, I have a couple of sheets from an older meeting you guys can leverage if you want that. But on our website as well is an email list. You can subscribe so you can start getting our emails about flyers like that. We ask that you spread the word to other parents as well, let them know that we're here, what we're offering to do to help parents get more empowered to advocate effectively for their kids. Okay?
We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
So.
And we share everything on all three.
Yep. So we try to, again, whatever option we can get to you. And again, it's all parent volunteers, so I can't say it's the latest and greatest, but we do our best.
There used to be something, I know we're getting the calls now, and
Robocalls,
sometimes there used to be paperwork that came, used to. But what I'm saying is that not everyone may have a phone.
True.
Or the numbers may have changed, not everyone can go on Facebook or Twitter because not all of us have working computers. So,
But we're working on
or
that too.
Facebook or any of that stuff, I mean, and as a community, a lot of our information we get can be from parent to parent.
Yep.
So,
That's actually
That's the best way is parents.
we have
you
is
know,
word of
but
mouth.
it's still, it's something that I was expecting a lot more people for as big as Boston is. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't been to the meetings in a very long time because I just, wasn't feeling that things were getting done. But I have no idea who's here, and I came in a little late. I don't know how long this team, who's Vice Co, you guys have been together. I mean, I just don't know. I know we're talking about Assistive Tech. Is that the only thing we're talking about? And I'm used to, and I'm glad, and I'm sorry, Carolyn was able to give us as parents if we need information, which is why we come here. I'm having a situation at school, how do I handle it, who do I go to? Do you have someone that can talk to me or talk with me or go with me if I have to go to the school? As parents, reaching parents, teaching parents.
So as parents, and parent volunteers, so SpedPac is a group of parent volunteers that exist. The organization itself exists by statute. The school committee is required to have a parent advisory council. Having said that, it's an unpaid position. We're all parent volunteers. We're all parents of children with disabilities. So our job is to meet with the school district regarding the development and oversight of special education programs. It's to give input, basically, to the school committee and to the administration. So we meet weekly with Eileen Nash, we meet quarterly with John McDonough. We go to the majority of the school committee meetings and give public testimony about special education bigger issues. What we don't do is advocate on behalf of individual families because we don't have that capacity. We're, less than 10 adults ourselves. There's 11,000 children with special needs in the Boston Public Schools. So what we try to do is give you the information that you need that empowers you and give you access to resources that are going to assist you. In addition to that, we're very fortunate that Eileen Nash brings her staff here to our monthly meetings once a month. So if parents do have individual issues, that they can go and directly talk to her staff. In addition to that option, John's also created on our website an issue form so that if you're having an issue with your child's program, your child's services, your child's transportation, the gentleman from transportation kindly comes to our general meetings once a month, and nobody's had a transportation issue for a while, so the fact that he comes shows how much he cares about special education students, okay? So what we do is provide you with opportunities to communicate, opportunities to ask questions, opportunities to get information to inform yourself, and then if you come here with specific issues, there's specific staff available to you to try to facilitate the resolution of those issues. But we don't go to meetings with parents because we can't. We all work and we all have our own kids to take care of as well. What we try to do is help people to the extent that we can, but we have to be realistic about what our expectations are here as a group. We try to offer information not just as an organization, but as individual parents, with the district in partnership with them to give it to parents because the district is working with us, providing the space, providing the child care, providing the pizza, so that we can come together as a group and share this information and get that information out. So that's really what we're trying to do. We try to do a different topic every month. If you can't come to the meeting because, maybe you can't make it, you got something else planned, or your child's sick, or you just don't feel like leaving the house, you can go onto the website and you can look up in the library and say, oh, that one's about assistive technology, I'm gonna watch that one. This one's about IEP basic rights, I'm gonna watch that one. So we're trying to make it so it's 24/7 available to our parents, recognizing that it's challenging for all of us to get here. I have a babysitter at home right now myself, that, you know, how do we get information to parents so that more parents are empowered, so that less parents feel that they're outnumbered when they go to an IEP meeting, or they don't have the information necessary to advocate effectively for their child, and how do we as a group also come together as a collective voice. So when we do have bigger issues like increasing inclusion, or issues with early childhood, or issues with ABA, all issues where we've made substantial progress in the last several years, that we're representing not our individual children, but children throughout the district, to say, you know, what is programming doing over here, where do we need more inclusion? That's something we've been advocating for years. Transition services, that's something we're currently working on in the district. But those are issues that we're working on, not individual cases with individual children, because that's really up to the parent. And if you need advocacy help, you can go to the Federation for Children with Special Needs. If you have a compliance issue, you can go to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Program of Quality Assurance, that's a free resource. You know, we try to give you instruction on how to, we've had people here from the Disability Law Center, attorneys that have offered to help our parents for free. So we try to connect you with free resources, both externally in terms of organizations, but also with regard to state agencies. So that's what we're trying to do. So if people have individual issues, I would really recommend that you take the opportunity of this time to meet with BPS staff, because they're all working full-time days, so connecting with somebody on your child's individual issue is always a struggle. And then if something comes up from the time that you leave here till the next time you come, or anywhere in between, you have those issue forms available to you on our website, so that if you're having difficulty getting a direct connection with BPS, then we would facilitate that connection directly for you. I hope that helps. Yes.
I must say, I used to come to the meetings over at ABI, and you all have helped me, because I came in, I was lost with my science, and you all really give out good information that I was able to advocate for my son by myself off of the information that I gathered at these meetings.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you.
Because I was having a very hard time with my son's school, and a lot of information that I got here helped me. Now I do my advocating on my own for
Good
my
for you.
son.
Good for
So
you.
the meetings, if parents come out and get the
And
information.
nobody knows your child better than you.
Yes.
You know, there's plenty of people you could go to that are experts or even educators. Nobody knows our children the way that we do. Whether it's the way that they look at you, whether it's something that sets them off, whether it's something that helps them learn in a way that you've seen that other people don't. You're the best advocate for your child, because first of all, they're your child for life. And nobody knows them better. So the information that you can impart to the team is not only beneficial to your child, but it's beneficial to the people working with your child. So that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that everybody feels comfortable and knowledgeable about how to advocate for their child. Yes, Tina?
Can you repeat what she said?
She said that she came to meetings when we were over at English High School, and she thinks the information that we give out is very informative and helpful, and it's enabled her to advocate individually on behalf of her own child on her own. So,
Thank you for the feedback.
yes. And just with regard to the location, sorry, John, I just wanted to touch on that. I know we were at English, well, and there's nowhere in the city of Boston that's going to be geographically convenient for the entire city. So what we did was we put out a survey on the website and asked people, where do you want us to have the meeting? The majority of people picked Dorchester. Originally, we were at, overwhelmingly, originally we were at Campbell, but they started doing construction at Campbell, so we moved to the closest place that we could find, which is the Murphy. People want us to travel around monthly. We're not able to do that logistically. We're not a traveling sideshow or roadshow. It's that we also have to get permits to use the school buildings, because even though BPS gives us the facilities, they're booked constantly. So we have to book them months in advance and for the whole year. So I'm saying that not only for the people here that know why the meetings are here, but also to the people that are watching this at home, to say, you know, we would like to be able to go to every neighborhood and have much more resources and, you know, have that flexibility. But what we try to do is pick somewhere where parents want us to be, And then once we're there, we're sort of stuck there because we're not gonna be able to get a building, changing dates and changing locations on a month-to-month basis, okay?
This is my first time coming in. My first time coming in here. But I was able to go on the sites and get the information that I need.
And that's all because of John. He created our own website. It's not BPS's website. He paid for it himself. Established it himself. I couldn't work the camera or upload it or do any of those things, okay? So he brings a unique talent that's helped us get eons ahead of where we were before, and we're reaching a lot more parents because of it, so.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
And you had mentioned the flyers that you used to get. We still do send out the flyers to your students' schools. So if you are not getting them on a regular basis,
Email us.
Or come tell me at the end, and I'll write the school down, and we'll make sure. Because they should be going home every month with your students in their backpack.
The reason we email it too is so that you can go and give it to the school.
Yeah, I get that email and phone call.
I would add to Carolyn's point, I agree with what you said. She's really, really impressive when she speaks. And,
My husband doesn't think so.
well, neither does my wife. But it's always been impressive to work with Carolyn. We've been doing this now with almost, I think, not 5 years, almost 5 years, we're over that. So, again, we're not doing this for our own individual children. We're doing this for yours. And we understand what it takes. But one of the most important things that I want to bring up here is we know other parents from other districts and other towns. And one thing that they don't understand that we do is that the partnership is real. We work with the district. Why? Because we can get more accomplished, and it's the right way to do business. Where other PACs are very accusatory or antagonistic, and that's not a productive way to go, because you can't have this kind of meeting. You can't have Eileen Nash and her staff here to address questions and issues personally. Other districts are amazed that we actually have that relationship, but it's taken time, and it's a trust situation, and we are really working on a lot of things. Carolyn just hit some of the tip of it, and again, we're constantly on this point. Again, not for our kids, but for yours.
So having said that, next month is our annual elections for SpedPac. So any parent is welcome to run for the SpedPac board. We welcome any and all help. It doesn't mean that everybody does the same thing. We all bring different talents and time abilities to the meetings. I mean, nobody's ever, come help. We welcome any and all help. And obviously, we want to make sure that we also have people that represent not only the fabric of SpedPac, but also the geographical diversity, so we can take information back to the local community or to the schools. So I would encourage anybody and everybody to run. We don't turn people away. And we've been at this for 5 years, so we'd like some new help if people are so inclined.
New blood is very important. Very important.
One more, I can make a couple of questions. Why is it still SpedPac? I mean, why is it still? My son has a very hard time with being called SPEC. So I just want to know, why is it still BostonSpedPac?
Because it's a special education parent advisory council.
I understand, but it has a negative intonation. I'm just putting it
Not
out
to me.
there.
Not to me.
Not to
Well,
No,
my son
I hear you, but
my son, because he understands, mommy, I'm at SPED or where if you diagnose with mental retardation, he's like, mommy, I'm retarded. And the kids are calling me retarded. I said, you're a little different, but I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. I don't know if it's ever been addressed. I know that we have children of all different abilities, all abilities.
Well, it's always been a short term for special education to call it SPED. I'm sorry if your experience has been negative, but that would raise issues of bullying that are an individual issue, not what we call ourselves.
It's always, I mean,
we also want people to know what we're talking about too.
Why can't it be called special?
We're going to talk about special education,
I'm just saying.
and SpedPac is the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. We're not changing our name.
We just say special pack, but hey.
we're going to have a branding meeting apparently. Question?
I don't know if it's related to this or not, but I know this is when you got the Boston kids. What happens when kids, I don't know what they call them, the name of it, but when they get too old to go to school.
Oh,
or
transition?
Transition.
You mean
So
22?
transition services start in special education at the age of 14 up to age 22, unless your child graduates before then, and graduate means with the high school diploma, right? And then it's adult services from age 22 and beyond, if your child still needs those, and that's something that your child may be eligible for through Mass Health, or through DDS, or through the Department of Mental Health. It really depends on what your child's needs are and what agency they're connected to. But when your child, DDS, Department of Developmental Services, it used to be called the Department of Mental Retardation, now it's called DDS. So the issue is really what agency is your child connected with now, and when they turn 18, you want to start what they call a 688 referral process, which is with the school to let them know that your child is turning 18 and basically get ready, because in the next few years this child's going to be coming to your agency. But adult services are a benefit. They're not a right like special education services. So the availability of those benefits depends on state funding. And unfortunately, adult services is an area that's been cut repeatedly. So you want to get in line for services as soon as you can so that you can connect with. But most people that are on Mass Health, you know, you're already sort of registered as having a disability, and sort of like, it's like the state SSI, if you will, you know, it's that. So they know that you're in the system, but that would determine whether or not your child would be eligible for day hab services, which is more in a facility that works on functional skills, where DDS would be for community-based day supports or employment supports. So you want to look at both, and a lot of adults have dual funding. So, okay?
It's always good to start.
We can, we really enjoyed the questions, but we have one more presenter tonight, which I think is really critical to finish the part of the puzzle. There's a wonderful group. It's I've been a pet project of mine for many years, and we're looking to partner and expand its use for our parents. And it's Tech Goes Home. Dan is here from Tech Goes Home. It's a wonderful organization that gives parents exactly what we were talking about tonight. The tools, physical tools, as well as the education to know what's working with their kids. Okay? Dan, please.
Hello. Good evening. First, let me apologize. My wife is very pregnant, so my phone is in my pocket. So if I get a weird text that says, Dan, you need to get home, well, I'm going to run. Home. I'm not sure if people have heard about us. I'm seeing some nods. That's good. I know there's one trainer in the room, which is wonderful. Our real purpose is to fight for digital equity, because now, especially hearing all the questions that have been brought up just tonight, it's very clear that if you do not have hardware, if you do not have access, and if you do not have training, you or your family member or whoever we're talking about is at a significant disadvantage. So what we want to do is basically close that loop. BPS works really hard to get technology into the hands of kids at home, but one of the themes that has come up here is that, well, what happens, BPS helps get technology in the hands of kids when they're at school. What happens when they go home? So we close that gap by saying, okay, we're going to go to schools and we're going to hire classroom teachers of your kids to become Tech Goes Home trainers. They're then going to offer a 15-hour course that's going to cover everything from how do I apply for a job online, how do I access BPS resources online, how do I access city resources online, how do I use online apps that are designed for students who are blind. I mean, we do a lot of work with those tools. We then provide the hardware for $50, so you can get a brand new Chromebook if you complete all 15 hours for $50. We also run courses for students with significant special needs, and in that case, it's usually an iPad for $50 as well. Also in those courses, we pay for the apps that are used. So what we do is we work with the teachers, and we say, okay, here are the 5 or 6 apps that need to go on to the iPad, because we all know some of these apps are not cheap. So what we do is we fund them so then the iPad that goes home can match the same iPad that's in school, so when the child and the family are home doing work, they basically can have the same devices. The other thing we do is we really work to get people discounted internet access, because the fact is that, and no offense to Comcast, but Comcast is expensive.
Oh my God.
I'm hearing a lot of agreements. But did you know that you can get high-speed internet for $10 a month? No. Most people don't, but now you do. I have this little device in my pocket. It's called a mobile hotspot. I got this device, I paid $40 for it, and I have, for $10 a month, unlimited internet access on this. And I can connect 8 devices to this at once. Laptops, phones, iPads.
Does that travel with you?
This goes wherever, it's in my pocket right now, so it goes with me.
You have access?
It works here. Yeah, it works in about 95% of Boston. Now, I can't guarantee it's going to work in your neighborhood. If you live in an apartment building that's all concrete, well, it might not work there, but for most people it does work. So what I'd like to quickly do here is talk a little bit about our programs, show you how to can get the internet access, because you don't have to run through Tech Goes Home to sign up for discounted internet access. It's open to everyone. I've had this for 4 years now. I pay $10 a month. Actually, what I do is I pay once a year. They let you pay $120 once, and then I have internet access for the entire year. And just so you know, you can watch Netflix on this, so when I watch my House of Cards, I can watch it on that.
That just hooks up to your phone, your computer, whatever you have.
You don't have to hook up to anything.
Well,
You just turn it on, and then it works.
What kind of device is that?
It's called a mobile hotspot.
Where do you get that?
I'm going to show you that in a second. So in I think you have a packet, and it really talks about a number of our different programs. So I want to do a very quick overview of our programs. The first one is called TGH School. And this is the one that's probably most relevant to the people in this room. Every year we run about 3,000 people through Tech Goes Home in our school program. We're in 50 schools in the city, and 45% of our courses have students with special needs in them. So this is not just for, I hate this term, but regular ed kids. I don't know. But anyway, this is open to anyone and everyone. We also have some courses that are designed specifically for students with significant disabilities. For example, Dorchester Academy, starting on May 2nd, is running a course for students who are visually impaired. So what we're doing is we give each family, after they complete the 15 hours of training, an iPad for $50. We put the apps on the device that the teacher decides, because I'm no expert when it comes to working with blind students. The teacher is. So the teacher says to us, I want these 5 apps for our kids. We get those apps for the kids. We also run courses for students with autism. We run courses with students with physical disabilities. We try to accommodate as many students and disabilities as we possibly can. We have never said no to a school that wants to run a course. In the 5 years that we've been doing this, we've never said no. So, the next obvious question is, well, is Tech Goes Home at my school? It might be. On our website, you can see there's a courses link right here. And if you were to click on that, you'll see a list of all the schools in Boston that we're in. And of course, I'm having trouble scrolling here. So we're in a lot of Boston schools.
What are you, a Mac user?
What's that? Yeah, I'm a Mac user. If we're not on this list, talk to your school, talk to your principal, talk to your teachers. We will pay teachers a stipend to offer this course. So there's some incentive there for teachers to do this. What's that? What school are you at?
Well, the Henderson, we just got there.
Henderson Elementary.
Elementary, but it's not in the middle school.
Not in the middle school, so talk to the school.
It can be, I don't think expanding is a problem at this point.
We're happy to run more courses. I mean, it's kind of late in the year now, but for next year, definitely talk to the school.
So it's a totally different.
If you have pushback, talk to me. I've got business cards up here with phone numbers and emails. Our website is techgoeshome.org. We're more than happy to reach out to schools. Like I said, we're in over 50 schools in the city. That's our school-based program. We also have a community-based program, which is specifically designed just for adults. Because sometimes you want the technology, it's not necessary for your kid. I'm briefly going to mention it because I know we focus on families here. But our community program focuses on people between the ages of 18 and 93. Our oldest participant 2 years ago, she was 93 years old. She lived in Boston her entire life. She had never used a keyboard before. Never mind a computer. She had never used a keyboard before. And at the end of the 15 hours, she learned how to video chat with her great-grandchildren in Atlanta, Georgia. Which is just one skill to learn, but for her, I think she probably learned more in the class than anyone in the history of Tech Goes Home. Even though it was just one thing, but it opened a new world for her to be able to communicate with her family. And we've seen some studies recently, specifically for seniors, and how important it is that they continue to communicate with family members. It significantly fights depression and anxiety, so we're really happy with that.
It's also the largest growing demographic, too, of new users.
And very few of them have internet access, so we really push that. Just another quick story about her. We ask everyone to do this like final project in Tech Goes Home, and she did hers on how she met her husband in 1938 at the Wang Center, which was a movie house at the time. And she was 16 or 17 at the time, and apparently she was there seeing a movie with a girlfriend, and her soon-to-be husband walked over and said, "Hey, I'd like to go out with you." And she said no, because, I'll never forget this, she said, "Because I was playing hard to get." And I just imagine a 93-year-old woman saying, "I was playing hard to get." But that's who we serve, and we want to serve everyone and anyone that we can do. So our community program is for adults. You can see right on our website, these are all of our community courses in the middle section here. We typically are running at any given time in 40 different community sites throughout the city. We're in every neighborhood. I will warn you that our community program fills up very fast. Yeah. Many of our sites have long wait lists. You can see closed, full, but you can always reach out to us and we can try and connect you with a site, or you can look on here, there's even a map you can look at as well. We also have a small business program, which I'm not going to talk much about, but we do have a program designed for anyone who's interested in starting a small business. So you can ask us about that. The last one I want to mention is our early childhood program. So this is something that's new for us, but we're very passionate about it because of a lot of things we've been reading lately. For example, there was a study done recently that looked at 4-year-olds, and they found that if you grow up in a wealthy family, you'll have heard 30 million more words by the time you're 4 than someone who grows up in a poor family. The state of Texas, when deciding how many prison cells to build, one of the factors they use are 4th grade literacy rates. They see there is a direct correlation between whether you can read at grade level and how many jail cells to build, which is tragic. I mean, I can't, when I read that, I almost cried. So we said, you know what, we offer Tech Goes Home in schools for adults, well, we need to do something for the little kids. So now we're running in a lot of the early education centers in the city. We're working with the Salvation Army. We're working with a number of sites where, similar to some of the iPad programs I mentioned earlier, we focus on things like literacy apps for 3- and 4-year-olds. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she refused to talk until she was after 2 years old. So we used a lot of apps on the iPad to really help her out. So I had a personal experience with it. So all of the apps we use in our program, I say they're Zoe approved. That's my 4-year-old, they're Zoe approved. But it's similar to what we were talking about earlier. We will actually pay for the apps that they come home with you. And the iPad itself is, again, $50. So that's a very quick Factor 10 overview of our program. The one thing I want to show you is the internet piece. Yes? TechGoesHome.org. Yep. So on our website, we've got this little link here. You can see it says Connecting Boston. You can see information on all of our programs, school, community, small business, and early childhood. This is a screen cap. These two were in a course, and they were video chatting with her mother for the very first time. I just love the expression on their face. So what you do is you click on Connecting Boston, and anyone can do this. This is not just Tech Goes Home participants. This is going to take you to this site. Click here. And this is going to take you to a nonprofit called everyoneon.org. I can't emphasize this enough. They are a nonprofit. They're not in this game to make money. They're in to get people online. They ask you 2 questions. First question is, what's your zip code? So I'm just going to put in that zip code. In fact, I think there's a flyer in your handout with how to do this. The second and final question they ask is, does your student receive free and reduced lunch? Every student in the city of Boston receives free lunch. So just say yes. It will now show you the internet options. The way they do this is they work with companies and nonprofits and negotiate better deals for you. Comcast has something called Comcast Internet Essentials. You may have heard of it, maybe not. The problem with Comcast Internet Essentials is it's a wired connection, so it doesn't work on your iPad or your phone. Even the latest models of Chromebooks don't have jacks in them, so you can't do it on that. You can't already have Comcast Internet. You can't have had Comcast Internet for the last 90 days. You can't owe Comcast any money that's older than, is less older than a year. There's all these restrictions. It takes 3 weeks to sign up. You have to have it installed. So if that's not enough to scare you away, I don't know what to do. The ones we recommend is this one here. $10 a month. You get one of these little devices. No, this is a different one. $10 a month, you get one of these devices. The device costs $40 up front. That's a one-time cost.
I'm sorry, freedom products that you're talking about?
I'm talking about the basic internet one. You get unlimited data on it, which means you can watch as much Game of Thrones as you want, and make emails as you want, as much cruising internet as you want. Cancel any time, no contract. You don't even need a credit card. So if you don't have a credit card, what you can actually do is use one of those prepaid debit cards that you get at CVS. You know, you can buy one of those with cash and then use it online. The reason we recommend this one over the free one, free sounds really nice, but it's got a data cap. So basically, if you get online and you're trying to watch your latest favorite show or trying to watch a YouTube video, chances are you're going to hit that cap pretty quickly, and then you don't have internet for the rest of the month. Now, that's up to you. Free is really nice, but we recommend this $10 a month one. Yeah.
What's the name of the thing coming here?
This is called a mobile hotspot.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, say that again?
We have card like to fly paper like that.
Oh, do you have a piece of paper? Do you have a handout with that information?
There's a handout in there, I think, on how to get to, no?
On this one.
On the back? Oh yeah, it's on the bottom of that page. Right there, that one right there. It looks like this one. Okay. It looks like this. Okay. I always hesitate when I do this little talk about the internet. I'm not a salesman. I don't work for any of these companies. I definitely don't get, our nonprofit doesn't get any money from them. So I don't want to sell you something that's not good, but I can say I have it myself. So I figure that's... I'm sorry? The question is, where do you get this device? The way it works is you just click on Enroll Online. You fill out one-page form and they mail it to you.
Can they call my phone?
T-Mobile. The question was, who is the provider for this one? The provider for this one is, it's the T-Mobile network.
Dan, does it work anywhere T-Mobile is or only in Boston?
It works anywhere T-Mobile is. So for example, I recently took the train down to New York, and I was able to use it most of the way.
Okay, but you say 40 for the device, but it's 60 for the
Oh, the question is, why does it say 60 there? They charge $20 for shipping, which I think is silly, but it is what it is. So that's the internet piece.
I have one more question. So how do you go about hooking it up in that device? Because that's my first time seeing that device. How do you go about hooking that device up to your computers or whatever you got on laptops or?
It's
The
wireless.
question is, how do you connect the device? You basically, you get it, you turn it on. You get on your iPad or your phone or your laptop or whatever it is, and you click on the little, you know, there's a little cone. You click on that, and then you'll see whatever the name of the device is, you connect to it.
Oh, okay. Anybody can connect to it, or you have to
You
have
set
a
a
password?
The question is, can anyone get on? You can set a password
Set a password? Okay.
if you want. I would recommend setting a password.
Yeah.
Somebody will be riding on something else.
That's right. No one rides for free, right?
So, just an overview. We look at this as what we do as kind of like a three-legged stool. That if you don't have one of these three things, your stool falls over. If you don't have internet access, if you don't have hardware, an iPad or computer, whatever it is, and then almost most importantly, if you don't have the training on how to use it, your stool falls over. There was a study done recently in New York City where they gave a bunch of kids laptops and internet access and zero training for the parent or the kid. And you know what their test scores did? They went down. You give someone a toy and they're going to play. We look at what we provide as tools. And we provide you, the parent, the training that allows you to become more involved in your kids' digital lives. Because I have a 4-year-old and she's smarter than I am when it comes to the iPad. She showed me how to do something. I am not lying. She showed me how to do something the other day using iPhoto. And she's 4. I'm just like, you know, and I live in this world. So this is a great opportunity for you as parents to learn about the technology your kids are using on a daily basis. The other thing, last thing I want to highlight is, and I think it's a theme across from what I heard earlier today in this meeting. It's called Tech Goes Home, but the most important piece isn't the technology. It's the relationship that gets formed between you and the school. I can't think of another opportunity where you get to spend 15 hours of time with your child's teacher. There's 3 reasons people usually go to a school. There's a sporting event, or there's like a concert. There's an open house where you might get 5 minutes with your kid's teacher because they're so harried. Or your kid's in trouble. Those are the 3 major. Here's an opportunity for you to have fun. This is a fun thing to do, both for you and I know, I'm seeing a nod from one of our trainers back there. So,
It is true, and last year we did at the Youth Conference Assistance Center, hearing parents from all over the place, different language.
Participants, the adult participants, have English is not their primary language. So we do work with a lot of non-English speaking. About most of those speakers are Spanish. One thing I'll just mention before your question, for non-English speaking families, we offer a free subscription to Rosetta Stone online to try and work on your English. I wish we could offer that for everyone, but Rosetta Stone is not cheap.
I had actually,
So.
Tech Goes Home, and I was wondering, why don't they offer it to English-speaking parents who want to learn Spanish?
So the question is, why don't we offer Rosetta Stone for English-speaking parents who want to learn another language? The issue is that it costs us $100 per adult, so it's very expensive. So we really want to focus on those who need it the most.
Our goal too is to work with the district on those type of issues of software applications and these type of programs to give parents more options, whether it be learn English, whether it be other options as well, but also to learn technology.
What about students who want to learn a different language with Rosetta Stone? Is it the same?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would love to offer Rosetta Stone to everyone, but at this point we can only offer it to people that want to learn English. Yeah.
So quick question. I don't know if it was me that got distracted or
please.
thrown off. How do you actually get the hotspot? Like,
When you go to our website, the question is how to get the hotspot or how to sign up.
No, the little.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sign up for it. If you go to techgoeshome.org, you can click on this Connecting Boston link and it'll take you right there. Or if you want, you can go directly to connectingboston.org.
It's on our website.
They ship it to you?
They mail it to you.
Okay.
So it's on our website. Under the library, there's a page Tech Goes Home, which has all of the documents tonight, as well as the links to go right here. There's also, I think, a phone number to call ConnectingBoston.
Yeah, there's a phone number right here.
Right.
You can call everyone on, yes.
So if you don't have access, you can use that to get access.
What's that, I'm sorry? What do you mean?
Like, out of the US, can I go overseas like the guys?
I don't know if the question is, will it work outside the country? I don't know. There is a map you can go to via the website once you get in there, and it might show that. I've never looked. I should look though. Yes?
My question is, did they know start this year to bring 5, because I had Tech Goes Home for my son, right?
Okay.
But I didn't get 5 free apps with it. I got the laptop,
So the question,
iPad, and that was it.
yeah, the question is on, for most Tech Goes Home courses, for $50, people get a Chromebook. That's the majority. We make exceptions, or we have special courses that run with the iPads, and that's where we provide the apps. The apps are usually preloaded. Where'd you take your course?
Madison.
You got an iPad at Madison from Tech Goes Home? Oh, let me give you my card and we'll talk. Okay. Oh, let's talk afterwards, because that was a different situation. Okay.
I have a question about that, because I've been trying to do that program with my son when we were in another school, but he just was always hospitalized. So every time we try to do it, so it was like, I mean, he does have special needs, he does need the extra support. So are you ever able to take the course someplace else when say he is well, or?
Yeah, what we do is, let me give you my card, and then we can talk on the phone, and we can definitely figure something out. Probably not for this year, because the school year's ending, but definitely we'll make sure the fall happens.
What we're looking to do too is, going forward, is to have our own Tech Goes Home classes for our parents, either with the kids, or we'll work with Dan, whether it be a parent-only option or a parent-child combo. We'll find the best way to work it. We want to make sure it's successful and well-attended as well. So we'll work on that as the relationship builds. But it's a great program.
When my son have autism, he go to school. How by the iPad? Are you gonna download it for software you can help you speak?
If it's part of, the question is, if you get the iPad, will we pay for the apps that you use? Are you talking outside of Tech Goes Home?
Yeah.
No.
If I buy the inside the platform.
No. If you take Tech Goes Home with your son,
yeah,
and the teacher picks 5, 6, 7 apps that you're using, we pay for those apps. But it's up to the teacher to decide which apps we're going to purchase.
How do I sign it?
How do you what?
How do I sign it?
How do you sign up?
Yeah.
Talk to your school. Talk to the school, talk to your teachers. Like I said earlier, we've never said no to a school that wants to run. So talk to your school, talk to the principal. If you don't get anywhere there, talk to me. I have cards I can hand out. You can shoot me an email or give me a call. And we're happy to, we want to make it work, so. Oh, wonderful. You're starting on May 2nd. I love it. That's great. Yes?
I have a question for the internet. How efficient is the internet speed?
The question, it's a very good question. It's a very good question. The question is, how good is the speed on the mobile hotspot? It's not blazing fast. It's not the fastest thing you've ever used.
So can you watch video on it?
You can. I've watched Netflix on it.
Well, then that's enough.
So that's the question. I have watched Netflix on it myself. The concern I have about the Comcast thing, about canceling Comcast, I just warn you to be careful. Because many people, when they sign up for triple plays, like internet, phone, and cable all together. Sometimes if you try to cancel one of them, they'll charge you a lot of money. So you've got to be careful about that, because I would hate to have you cancel it and get a $150 cancellation bill. So your first question to Comcast is, how long do I have on my contract? And if they say you don't have a contract, you can do whatever you want.
I think recently they changed it so that you know, it used to be we'd lock in for a year or two, and I don't think there's a contract period anymore because of the competition.
Oh, great. So
when you think about
Better be safe
you should
than
check,
sorry.
yeah.
yeah, but if you think about $150, what do you pay for a cable bill
A
every
lot
month?
more than that.
Exactly. So you're gonna long, but it's still gonna come out, even if you get a one-time fee.
But it's good outside, because that's the part that
Well, one of the question is really about what side, I mean, it's an individual decision. What's best for you? I will say that early on, before these hotspots came up, we did a lot of research and surveys about why people didn't have internet access at home. And one of the reasons that was given is that people move around a lot. Not everyone stays in the same home for 6 months at a time.
So, okay, so I bought it and I canceled, and I have it in my pocket, and I can on my cellular,
Yes.
my iPod,
Yes.
my computer.
Yes.
My son is at home using the computer, but I do have the hotspot with me.
It's a very good question. So basically, anything you want to connect to the internet, you need to be near that device. I can't get in the highway at 93 and drive to Quincy and have it still work in my apartment. That's not going to work out.
But it's great for phones, because I mean, I
Can
can.
you just buy more than one?
You can sign more than once if you want, yeah. One thing I'll mention about the phone piece too. So sometimes people might say, well, I don't know if I can afford internet even for $10 a month. Well, most people who have a smartphone, they also have data. So you pay an extra $40 a month for data. Well, I connect my iPhone to this mobile hotspot. It's a Wi-Fi connection, so I'm not using any of my data from AT&T,
Your plan.
which means I can lower the cost of my data plan because I'm not using it as much. And in most cases, that's going to cover the cost of just having the internet in your home.
Yeah, it makes a lot.
And I mean, if you run through Tech Goes Home, one of the things we like to show families is ways you can save money just by having internet access. Like, did you know you can make long distance and international phone calls right from your Gmail account?
Yep.
Oh, I never used it, but I had.
So my sister used to live in Amman, Jordan. So if I call her with AT&T, it's 59 cents a minute, which is outrageous. If I use my Gmail account, it was 14 cents a minute. I saved 45 cents a minute. So basically, I talked to her for 22 minutes, and I covered the cost of my internet for the month. So anyway, that's my spiel, yeah.
I call always East Africa. How do you work the Gmail account?
So you got to take the class.
So, if you want, this is the thing. Everything on our website is free and open. There's no firewall, there's no login. If you click on any of this, like if I click on school here, it's taking its time. All of our tutorials are free. You can down how to use Gmail. So you can see how to use Gmail, how to use like Common Sense Media. Is anyone familiar with Common Sense Media? No. So this is an amazing site that does parent-friendly ratings of every type of media that kids consume. Books, apps, websites, movies, music, video games, whatever you want. It allows you as a parent to go search for, say, Grand Theft Auto. This happened in one of our middle school classes. A grandmother who's raising her grandson said, I want Grand Theft Auto, the video game, for my birthday. Grandmother bought it for him. She thought it was a car racing game. She then went and looked up, and she found that in Grand Theft Auto, you kill people for money, you sleep with prostitutes for health points, you can go into strip clubs and get drunk, and there's even a pornographic mode that turns it into what you think it would turn it into. Now, whether that's appropriate for an 18-year-old, it's definitely not appropriate for a 10-year-old, which was in this class. One of the little projects we ask our families, our trainers to do in schools, is before they introduce Common Sense Media, have the kids write down their 5 favorite video games, movies, music artists, whatever it is. Hand that piece of paper to mom or dad or grandma or whoever's there. Introduce Common Sense Media and have the adult go look up everything that kid wrote down. I had one trainer tell me about 6 months ago that his kids would not talk to him for 6 months because they were so mad that they did that. Yes?
So earlier I said my cellular, and you didn't object to that. That pays for service for my cellular?
What it does is it allows you to connect your phone to the device which means you won't use the data plan on your phone.
Oh.
You'll instead use Wi-Fi,
So if you're
which
paying
means you can
extra.
lower your cost. So anyway, our site is full of all of these tutorials. In fact, we've got a bunch of BPS tutorials on here. So there's a tutorial here on how to use the Student Information System, the Aspen program that BPS has. We've got English and Spanish tutorials with step-by-step guide to how to sign up. There's even a video that shows you. In fact, BPS, I was recently on the BPS page, on their SIS page, and they have this link that says, hey, I'm curious about how to use our SIS system, and it links right to our tutorial. Has everyone seen the Where's My School Bus app?
Yeah, I use that a lot.
I use that.
I'm good with that.
If you don't, you should start.
So we have a tutorial.
Right where the bus is.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
The only thing is when it's at the front bus.
No, yeah. That's good.
Just put in your name, your last name.
So you can see there's a tutorial, step-by-step guide. It gives you a map where you can track your bus. For families who have students with special needs, I think this is amazingly important because as you know, I'm preaching to the choir, but as you know, buses for students with special needs traverse the entire city. I worked at BPS for 10 years in schools, and we had one bus for students with autism that at 3:30 in the afternoon had to drive from East Boston to Dorchester. I don't think it was on time once, but we didn't have this at the time. So, and as any parent here knows, if you've got a student with autism, it's all about schedule and structure. So every day this was a struggle. Knowing where the bus was would have been huge. So this is, anyway.
Now again, if you miss it, it's on our website, but it's also on the bottom of every email, so is tech goes home. It's all there, so if you miss it all now, you get it back.
Your job. You went to run out
The question is it all school buses? As far as I know, it's every school bus. There might be exceptions, but
It's
as far
unique.
as I
Now,
know,
you can't choose the bus you want to look at. It's for your bus. It's tied to the student's ID number. So if you have a morning bus or an evening bus, it'll flip.
Very nice.
It'll flip. It's a great program, and it's free, no charge.
Any other questions?
No. I think the question was, like, if you want to look up another bus besides the ones you're programmed to.
No, you can only look up ones that are assigned to your kids.
Correct. That's right.
Done. If they have siblings, they just log on once and they can look at the siblings.
It's fantastic.
Log out and log in again. So if you have a sibling taking 2 different buses, log in once and then you can look for the sibling.
You said, is it on all smartphones?
I'm sorry?
Is it on all smartphones?
It's not an app. It runs through a browser, through web.
The question is it an app for your phone? And no, it's just a website, but you can use it on your cell phone.
Yeah.
You can download.
Yep, I use it on my
It's on your
phone.
phone and once it's there.
It works great.
Any last questions? You have all the information in the packet. I have cards. I'm happy to stick around for a couple minutes if you've got individual questions. But thank you so much.
What'd you guys think?
Very nice. Oh, yeah.